How to play Mercenarium. Included in Anthromancer, Mercenarium is an elegant game of strategy and chance for 2 to 4 players. It features familiar game mechanics, such as those found in chess and poker, but presents them in new ways, offering hours of fun and discovery for all who seek it. Players compete to be the first to 5 captures, or to eliminate their opponents by crippling their ability to summon new cards. Face cards are mercenaries that can be bought by other players to subvert their opponent's strategies, and hymn cards offer powerful actions that can radically alter the battlefield. This game rewards strategic thinking and the luck of the draw in equal measure, and no 2 games will ever flow the same. How to play Mercenarium. For 2 to 4 players, average game time 15 to 60 minutes. Components. To play Mercenarium, you will need the 71 card Anthromancer deck, 4 quick reference cards, or 1 for each player, 2 6-sided dice, the blue Fool die and the purple Fox die, 1 12-sided Zodiac die, and the Anthromancer board. Setup. 1. Placement. Open your game board and place it face up on a sturdy, flat surface. On the board, there are colored circles in the center space of each side that are either red, orange, yellow, or green, and have a small black Anthromancer logo in their center. These are called houses, and each player will be in control of one during the game. Players should sit at the house that they control so that it is easier to play and move cards from that position. In 2-player games, sit directly across from each other. 2. Dealing. Go through the deck and remove all 15 hymn cards, and place them in a separate pile. Hymn cards have Roman numerals and titles along their bottom edge. They also have larger illustrations, and small blue Anthromancer logos on their backs. This separate pile will be referred to as the hymnal, while the remaining 56 cards will be referred to as the deck. Once the hymns have been separated, shuffle the deck and deal 5 cards to each player. Then, shuffle the hymnal and deal 1 hymn to each player. Combined, these 6 cards are your hand. At any point during the game, you should never hold more than 1 hymn card or more than 5 non-hymn cards in your hand. Set both the deck and the hymnal next to the board where all players can reach them. New players should receive a copy of the Anthromancer Quick Reference card, turned to the side labeled Mercenarium Quick Reference. This card contains useful information for many situations and will help keep the game running smoothly. 3. Turn order. Take turns rolling 6-sided dice to decide who goes first. The player who rolls the highest number goes first. If there's a tie, tied players re-roll the dice until the tie is broken. Turns proceed in clockwise order. Note: the 6-sided Fool and Fox dice do not have a side that depicts the number 6. Instead, they have special symbols. The sphere is on the white Fool die, and the seed of life is on the purple Fox die. For the purpose of establishing turn order, these symbols count as 6s. How to play. Summary. Players take turns placing and moving cards in order to capture enemy cards. To win the game, a player must be the first to 5 captures, or must defeat their opponents by putting them into limbo. Turn actions. On a player's turn, they must choose one option from all possible turn actions. You may not pass your turn without taking any action. Once an action has been taken, that player's turn is over and it becomes the next player's turn. There are 7 possible turn actions that a player may choose, and they are as follows. You may summon a card, move a card, capture an enemy card, buy a mercenary, sing a hymn, learn a hymn, or draw a card. Summoning cards. In Mercenarium, cards in the deck are considered materia, mercenaries, or lords. Materia are cards with a face value from 2 to 10. Mercenaries are cards with a face value of Jack, queen, king, or ace, lords are cards with a face value of lord. Each has a suit, claws, souls, gears, or blades. You must summon these cards into battle to start earning captures. There are two ways to summon cards onto the board: house summoning and field summoning. In both cases, cards that you summon always enter the board in standard orientation, with their orientation line directed towards your board edge. This is how players will be able to distinguish ownership during the game. House summoning. If your house is empty, meaning that there are no cards currently occupying that space, any card in your hand may be placed there, regardless of suit or face value. Simply place the card in your house, oriented with its bottom edge facing your own edge of the board. Field summoning. If you already have at least one card in play, you may choose to summon a new card in an empty space adjacent to any one of your in-play cards, so long as the incoming card adheres to a set of conditions. The incoming card must have either the same suit as, or a face value no lower than, that of the card you own. The term face value refers to the numeral or letter on a card's face. In Mercenarium, Jack value is 11, Queen is 12, and King is 13. Aces are high and count as 14, and Lords, which are explained in detail later, have a value of 15. Newly summoned cards only need to be based on one in-play card that you control. If the space that's being summoned into is adjacent to more than one card, the incoming card only needs to be based on one card for the summon to be valid. You may not summon cards diagonally. You may only summon them into open spaces that are adjacent to one of your own card's 4 edges: north, south, east, or west. So long as these rules are followed, you're allowed to summon cards directly adjacent to enemy cards, but you may not use those enemy cards as bases for summoning. Field summons must always be based on a card that you control. Once a card has been summoned onto the board, it is considered to be in play. The term in play refers to any card which is currently occupying a space on the board. Moving cards. If you already have cards in play at the start of your turn, you may choose to move one of them as your turn action. Movement is simple and functions the same for all cards. You may move a card one space either north, south, east, or west, assuming there's an unoccupied space for your card to move into. If the space is occupied by an enemy card, refer to the rules for capturing cards. You may not move into a space occupied by one of your own cards, and you may not move a card diagonally. Capturing cards. In order to win a game of Mercenarium, you must defeat your foes by capturing their cards. The first player to 5 captures wins the game. Capturing cards works like a standard move, except that a player's card will be moving into a space that is occupied by another player's card. On the edges of each card is a series of dots, called an aura, that define a card's capture strength. Cards will have between 0 and 5 aura dots per edge, depending upon the card's suit and face value. Different suits have different directional advantages, and higher face value means a greater number of aura dots distributed across a card's edges. If, at the start of your turn, one of your cards is threatening an enemy card, meaning your card is adjacent to an enemy card that has fewer aura dots along its touching edge, you may capture the enemy card by moving your card into the enemy card's space. Cards that you've captured should be removed from the board and placed face down in front of you along the outside edge of the board, so that all players can clearly see your score as the game continues. Captured cards count towards a player's total captures, and can be used to buy mercenaries, learn hymns, and win the game. Alchemy and Aura Ties. In the event that an attacking card and a defending card are tied in combat, meaning that both cards have the same number of aura dots along their touching edges, refer to the alchemy wheel, pictured on the quick reference card. One of 3 interactions will occur depending upon the suits of the cards involved: consumption, annihilation, or deadlock. Consumption. On the alchemy wheel, the arrows around the edge indicate the path of consumption. Anytime cards of these suits tie with each other's auras, there's a clear winner. One will always consume the other in ties. Only the consuming card in this encounter may initiate a capture. The card that would be consumed may not. Annihilation. When there's a tie between two cards whose suits are directly across from each other on the alchemy wheel, either one of these cards may initiate an annihilation, in which case both cards are discarded from play and no player receives a capture. Deadlock. When there's a tie between opposing cards that are of the same suit, they are considered to be deadlocked. This simply means that they cannot interact with each other so long as their aura dots are tied along their adjacent edge. Neither can initiate a capture or annihilation on the other. They are not trapped by this interaction, and are free to move into any other valid space. Alchemy, the Lords. There are 4 cards with a face value of L in Anthromancer with the title of Lord. Lords have no aura dots and function as suit-specific wildcards. For purposes of summoning, their value is considered 15 and higher than an ace. Lords always resolve captures using alchemy. They always defeat cards whose suit is consumed by their own. They always lose to cards whose suit consumes their own. They always annihilate with cards that are opposite their suit, and they always deadlock with cards of their own suit. Buying Mercenaries. The title of Mercenary is given to the court cards with a value of Jack, Queen, King, or Ace. Note that Tens and Lords are not considered mercenaries, despite their unique illustrations. While mercenaries have the strongest auras in the deck, this comes at a price. A player that has acquired captures may use their turn action to flip one of their captures in order to buy an enemy mercenary and gain control of them. In order to buy a mercenary, you must be in possession of at least one face-down capture, and there must be an enemy mercenary in play. Select one of your face-down captures and flip it so that it is face-up. You must then immediately shift the orientation of the enemy mercenary of your choosing to line up with your board edge. This mercenary is now under your control, and on your next turn can perform movements and captures like any of your other cards. The mercenary's bottom edge, defined by its orientation line, should be facing the edge of the board controlled by the player that has just bought it. In this way, you can strategically buy an enemy's mercenary to subvert their tactics, alter the layout of the board, and gain a powerful ally. If you spend a capture, it still counts towards your total captures for determining victory, but each capture can only be used to buy once. Once a capture is flipped face up, it has been spent and cannot be used to buy anything else for the rest of the game. Contracts. A bought or summoned mercenary is considered under contract until it is once again the turn of the player who bought or summoned the mercenary. If you would like to buy back one of your mercenaries from an opponent, or if you wish to buy a mercenary that was just summoned, you must wait at least one full round for their contract to expire. Singing Hymns. There are 15 powerful cards in the game of Mercenarium known as hymns, which are tied to the musical and mystical aspects of Anthromancer. Within Mercenarium, they offer players special abilities to dramatically change the board state and create more exciting scenarios. At the start of the game, each player receives 1 hymn card from the hymnal, in addition to 5 non-hymn cards from the deck. A player may never hold more than 1 hymn at a time. If a player finds themselves with multiple hymns in their hand, return extra hymns to the hymnal and shuffle the hymnal. As a regular turn action, a player may choose to activate the effects of their current hymn, referred to as singing a hymn. Each hymn has unique effects that are tied to their card's core meaning. These effects are summarized in the table on the quick reference card so that new players don't need to have the whole list memorized. After singing a hymn, it should be discarded unless otherwise specified by the hymn's effects. Learning Hymns. If a player sings a hymn, it will be discarded or otherwise removed from their hand. After this, they may wish to draw a new hymn. This is called learning a hymn. In order to learn a hymn, an offering must be made by discarding a certain combination of cards. Acceptable offerings are as follows: 2 cards with a face value between 2 and 9, one card with a face value of 10, Jack, Queen, King, Ace, or Lord. If a player has face down, unspent captures, they may spend one of these captures and flip it face up as an offering. This capture is then spent and cannot be used to learn additional hymns or buy mercenaries. If you are currently holding a hymn that you do not wish to use and would like to draw a new hymn, you may discard your current hymn along with any one card as an offering. In the event that you have no cards you want to get rid of besides an unwanted hymn, you may spend one of your captures while discarding the unwanted hymn as an offering. If any of these offerings are made and a player no longer has a hymn in their hand, they may then draw a hymn from the hymnal. This hymn can be used on the player's next turn. You cannot make offerings out of cards that you already have in play. Offerings must be made from your hand or from your captures. Drawing cards. You may use your turn action to draw a single card from the deck and place it into your hand. You may not hold more than 5 non-hymn cards at a time. If you're already holding 5 non-hymn cards and you would like to draw a new card, you must first discard 1 non-hymn card from your hand. Endgame. Winning the game. To win a game of Mercenarium, you must use a strategic application of the turn actions to achieve one of the following win conditions. Standard victory. The most straightforward way to win is by being the first player to acquire 5 captures. Captures are awarded by capturing enemy cards. If you reach 5 captures before anybody else can, the game is over and you win. Spent captures, from buying mercenaries and learning hymns, still count towards your total for determining victory. You do not lose captures after spending them. Elimination and Limbo. Players can be blocked from summoning and moving cards, and you can use this mechanic to win the game by elimination, especially in 2-player games. For a player to be eliminated from a 2-player game, they must have no summoned cards in play, and an enemy card must move to occupy their house. This prevents that player from being able to summon new cards, putting them in limbo. If a player cannot escape from limbo on their next turn, they lose. If, in a 2-player game, a player with earned captures or a hymn in their hand is put into limbo, they have a chance to escape. On that player's next turn, they must open their house or take possession of an in-play card by singing a hymn or buying a mercenary to stave off elimination. If they don't have a hymn that can remove them from limbo, or if there are no available mercenaries on the board, that player is eliminated and the game is over. In the event that a player puts themselves into limbo, such as by discarding their last in-play card while an enemy is in their house, they still have until the end of their next turn to escape. To win by elimination in 3- and 4-player games, you must place all your opponents into limbo simultaneously, at which point the last player with cards in play is declared the winner. Stalemates. In some games, a stalemate can occur. If, at any time, the only reasonable course of action for players is to repeat or cycle through the same moves, a stalemate is declared after 3 repetitions. Stalemates can occur for a couple of different reasons, such as when one player has 4 captures and their opponent's only means of preventing a final capture is to cycle cards around the board indefinitely. If stalemate conditions appear, the game ends in a draw. Singularity, sudden death. There are only 56 cards in the deck and 15 cards in the hymnal. As such, and particularly in games with 3 or 4 players, there is the possibility that the hymnal and the deck will run out. There will be no more cards for players to draw, and if a player is in limbo, the player will have no valid turn actions available to them. If at any point no cards remain in the main deck, the game enters Singularity. In Singularity, all the cards that are not currently in play, captured, or in a player's hand, both hymns and non-hymn cards, are shuffled into a single deck and placed next to the board. During Singularity, there is no maximum hand size, meaning a player can hold more than 5 non-hymn cards and more than 1 hymn at a time. Hymns no longer require offerings to draw, meaning that if a hymn is on the top of the Singularity deck, any player may draw that hymn for free. Hymn 1, Fire Eyes, has its function changed to draw 5 cards, and Hymn 7 Primary has its function changed to search the Singularity deck for any one card, place that card into your hand, and shuffle the Singularity deck. These hymns are also changed when rolled for Hymn 13 Zodiac during Singularity. In the unlikely event that the Singularity deck runs out of cards before a winner is declared, the game ends in a universal stalemate. Mercenarium is one part of a product called Anthromancer, which features an arcade of original board games, a divination system, a full-length concept album, and an illustrated lore. For gameplay tutorials, dragon fruit readings, and free downloads of the hymnal, check out Anthromancer.com, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow @Anthromancy on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you have questions, comments, feedback, or custom game types you'd like us to try, send an email to words@Anthromancer.com. We hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Anthromancer. Be moved.